Levy has just published his new website, Chessly, but how can we understand how good or bad it is until we go back and check his previous website first? So before he removes the courses from that website, let's quickly check them out. It was since last month that I was waiting Levy to release some discounts for his courses. I waited and waited until Levy finally said 40% off on all courses. I swiped my card faster than the speed of light. Even though I have been a D4 player for the entirety of my life, I am going to go for the E4 New York style course by Levy, and the reason is very simple. I've always been a big fan of 1E4 as well as huge rents for tiny apartments. I do like the layout of the course, it's very user friendly, and I just feel I'm going to fall in love with this course. Well, Levy told me so.
You are about to fall in love with this course.
Now I'm going to look at all the chapters one by one, and I'll be playing games based on those lines and see if I can get some good results purely from Levy's course. First chapter is the Vienna. Now I personally have no clue about this opening, never played from either color. Look at this crazy position. The pawn on e7 can be captured 4 ways. The black king is taking a stand. He's not interested in orgies. Captures. The idea is that the black king is under check and he's forced to capture, and then bishop g5 would win the queen. These kind of variations really spice up your interest in the opening, even if they are less likely to happen over the board, because they inspire you. They inspire you to sacrifice, launch an attack, get to the opponent king, and that's why I love this position. In the Sicilian Defense, Levy has offered 2 choices. I would obviously go with the 2a3 choice because Levy himself defeated Vidit Gujarati in a Title Tuesday game with this opening. I also want to defeat Vidit, so let's go. It's time for the Sicilian Defense. It's the most challenging one, I think, for most e4 players. It's so difficult sometimes. Remember all the theory. So when you're starting off, I think this can be a great way for white to play. But what was his recommendation? His recommendation was a3, and this is the move I chose. He also recommends 1b3. So the game began after e4, c5, a3, and now black played knight to c6, and this is where white sacks a pawn with the move b4. So c takes b4, a takes b4, knight takes b4, and now white has given up a pawn. He's opened up 2 files in typical Benko style compensation, and now after c3 and d4 he will take the entire center. So white owns the center here. Now here Levy covered the move d5 also, and also d6. My opponent played d6. I simply played knight to f3, and after g6 I just went haywire a little bit and I played the move h4 just for the kick of it, because if I'm playing something nuts, why not go full nuts? Here black played the move h5 trying to block my h-pawn, but he weakened a lot of squares now. Here maybe even a move like bishop c4 is very strong, but I was in the mood. Tonight's gonna be a good night, and the knight went on g5, putting pressure on the weak point on f7, which black is not even developed. After bishop g7, bishop c4, you can see the issue there. Black literally has only one decent move, knight to h6, and now knight to d2, castles, and knight to f3. So I protect this knight. So now knight to g4 was a bit slow. I played castles, e5. Now when the bishop is on c4, black should not play this move. It just allows me to heavily pressure f7. In fact, here you could totally even go for bishop f7, rook f7, knight f7, king f7, and knight to g5. Even this is incredibly deadly because now king g8 is not possible because of queen b3, and suddenly black is lost. I instead played the normal move bishop b2, developing all my pieces first. After queen to e7, rook to e1, king to h8, queen to b3, you can see the pressure mounting on the pawn on f7. Here my opponent calmly played the move f6, which doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like I have to come back now. But now knight f7 check. The king has only one square. Of course, king g8 would be so beautiful. After this, I have a discover attack. So he plays king h7, and now d takes e5. And here, with which piece would you capture? The irony is black has to capture with the knight and allow me to trade. If you capture d takes e4, then there is bishop a3 winning the exchange. So he took with the f pawn, which was ridiculous because now comes knight g5 check, and look at the king covered. There's only one square on g8, and now what do you play? Knight takes e5 check. It's a check from the bishop. Doesn't matter how many pieces you bring in between, it will all be lost. The only move is king to h8 here, and then knight g6 is mate. What a beautiful mate. I have to admit, I have not mated somebody so horribly for a long time, and it felt really nice to do so. Now, Levy has offered two choices for the French defense. Now, having studied this opening in depth with black, it kind of changes my perception to what yours would be, I think. And I don't personally like the first preference Levy has given. And this setup objectively is supposed to be good for black. Now, usually that isn't a problem in gambits because most gambits are perfectly fine for the opponent. But the reason it bothers me that it's French. I mean, black just voluntarily locked his light square bishop on move 1. It's like black gave birth to two kids, told one on f8, you know what, you'll get to go to school, you'll go to college, and then you'll also inherit all my property. And then to the other he says, you actually suck. Why don't you sit at home for the rest of your life? Yeah, just sit here like a lazy ass person. And that's especially surprising because the one sitting at home is the light colored bishop. History has often gone the other way. However, just for you, I will play this opening and we'll see how the results go. So the French, can you imagine I defeated my opponent with 90% accuracy in this game, and that too consciously playing some bad moves just to kind of stick with the attacking vibe. Let's have a look. So e4, e6, b3 is the recommendation. After d5, bishop b2. Here I think the idea is that if black takes the pawn, you have knight c3, queen e2, castles, and white can launch an attack. But I do think black is objectively better there. After knight to f6, e5, attacking the knight of course. Black plays knight to d7. And here, I played the move f4, which to me is very positionally risky because you're kind of opening up your king. And you're kind of also, weak. You're not developed enough to go get ahead with this. I think black can already play a move like c5, which he did. And suddenly d4 also becomes less beneficial because if you play d4 now, black can just take and play knight c6. You don't want to give this dark square bishop when you have all these dark square holes in your position. So that's why this is definitely interesting for black. But you know what, as I mentioned, I am not going back today. I played the move knight to f3. After knight to c6, bishop to b5, queen b6, and here I just took the knight, pawn takes c6 and just castled. So my plan is simple. I want to keep a solid structure, maybe long term attack this pawn as well, and if I'm lucky, then maybe, just maybe, we can launch an attack on the king side. So bishop a6 now, rook to e1, g6 played, which I don't recommend from black's perspective because now clearly the dark squares for him also become weak. Now c4 check can be an issue. I will not lie to you. That's why the king has to come to h1, and after the move h5, which I don't know what my opponent was on, but to kind of weaken your king like this, I assume he's going to the queen side at this point. But still, man, why? Why would you give up the g5 square? I think as we have seen, when people see such openings, they really want to punish it like immediately. They have no patience. After d3 now, completely blocking the bishop temporarily, he plays h4. Now I do want to stop this pawn because he has a light square bishop and I don't. If he plays h3, I'll have to play g3 and then this diagonal becomes really weak. So h3 is important, fixing this pawn here. And now bishop e7, knight to c3, queen to b4, which is a bit awkward. He wants this pawn, but I just play queen to d2. And now if he plays d4, I have knight e4. And even though he trades queens, somehow white has direct entry into all of black's holes. And that is not looking good at all. So that's why black plays the move c4. But the problem for black is his king is the issue. You're opening the center while your king is in the center. I mean, I just take on c4, pawn takes c4, and now I played the move a3, asking the queen, where you gonna go? The queen goes back, and now I simply play b4, and this bishop is now blocked by its own pawn. So black tries to liberate himself with c5, but it's just not enough. You are not ready for this. I play the move knight to e4. The knight is coming to the tasty square g6. C takes b4, a takes b4, bishop takes b4. Now I could give this check directly, but I try to exchange the dark square bishop. Look at it from positional point of view. Black has all these weak squares, especially the square on d6, which is the only piece black can use to defend this, the last square bishop, right? So if I can exchange both these bishops, that would be great for white. So I play the move bishop c3, and black took. He should have probably gone to e7, but even that is completely lost. He takes, and now intermediate move, knight to d6 check, king to e7. I will of course not take the queen because he takes mine. I take his queen first, and with the king stuck here, the rook stuck defending this this pawn. This bishop is, well, literally has no squares. I think this is really over. He plays queen c6, simply queen to a3, threatening some discover attack with the knight, also threatening the bishop. He plays knight c5, blocking both, but now simply knight to e4, and this knight is under a pin. You can defend this knight, but once I take, you will have to capture with the queen, and then the bishop is lost. What a crushing victory here for me somehow. I just traded off queens now, and he tried to basically give queen this. I was like, go ahead, buddy, I don't give a damn. Now e6, a4, knight to h7, and this is where he resigned, because a3, knight f6 check, king h8, and you know what? I will give him some time. I'll play king h2, he'll play a3, I will play f5, he will queen, and then I will mate. So I'll be very, very kind. In the Caro-Kann setup, even though Levy plays it himself as black, he has given some exciting lines, and he's been very optimistic with the white evaluations. However, because these courses have been out, well, Levy 2020 recorded this. No, he's not running for president, just the year he recorded the courses in. And now the problem is many people have seen this, they've played games, and these lines have become popular. So some upgrades, so to speak, for these lines are required, and I'm expecting them in the new website. Now I faced less games in the Caro-Kann. Apparently black doesn't play this as often as 1c5, for example. So e4 c6, e4 d6. My opponent refrained from d5 here. After knight c3, knight f6, bishop e3, queen a5, queen d2, e5 and f3, I basically managed to launch some sort of attack, and pretty soon we were in this position where, as you can see, white is in complete control. Rook a d1, keeping an eye on the queen. The queen comes to f8, king h1, queen g7, queen h2, knight to c4, b3, knight to a3, which is just, where are you going with this? Like, where is the knight headed? After knight to e3, I'm headed towards f5 now. Knight to b5, knight f5, attacking the queen. Queen to g6. If this rook was not there, knight e7 would win on the spot. Rook to d7, putting pressure on f7 now. The rook comes to e8, but now h5. The queen has literally no squares. It comes to g5 and f4. And look at this queen trapped on g5. So he played the move rook e4. I took the queen, rook e2, knight h6 check, king g7, e takes f6 check. And yeah, after king h6, queen f4 was a beautiful mate. I mean, I personally have not had such beautiful checkmates for a while. So to me, this is just life-changing. Goodbye, Levy. See you on the other side. Okay, so we are on his new website here. I need to log in first. Voila, done. So it is not showing any courses at all. I think we have to migrate our courses to Chessly. So let's go ahead with it. Okay, let's type our email. Congratulations. Yes, what have I won? All your courses have been migrated. Oh, okay. Okay, that also works. We hope you like the new home of your Gotham Chess courses. I hope so too. I hope I really like it. E4 New York style. Let's go, buddy. By the way, I think this website is definitely better. If you go to the courses tab, you can see how pretty it is. And yeah, he's kept the price 64 USD. That's kind of logical, consider 64 squares of the chessboard. I really want to see, is there any difference in the actual course? Of course, a bit of the aesthetics do matter. He's also not used PGNs. That's a very interesting aspect. It might have cost him a lot. I think it keeps less load on the servers and also makes it difficult for somebody to, let's say, copy his courses, I guess, download the PGNs and spread them. So it's kind of a win-win situation. Let's have a look at the chapters. Okay, so we have a chapter, we have a video, we have certain studies there which were not there in the previous one. Previous courses did have some practice games. Then you have certain drills, then video study drills and so on. So it definitely seems to be like a more comprehensive website. Let's have a look at a glimpse of the first video. Okay, time to listen in.
Welcome everyone to Chapter 1, Study 1 of the E4 New York style course.
I'm going to go through the entire course now, and then we can see, is this change beneficial to you, the user, and in what shape or form. I have completed just 1/5 of the new course on the new website, and well, it has a lot of material more than the previous one. First of all, there are more number of variations. If we go through very, very quickly, you can see how many videos there are relative to the previous website. There are quite a few. Second, the most important difference, at least according to me, is the drills. These will help you really memorize the lines very, very quickly. Let me help you run through one. So let's say you've just watched a video about a variation. This is very similar to the chess 24 setup. So for example, I look at a particular variation and I play the move e4, and based on that variation, automatically e5 is played on the board. This is more like a game, so I can actually test if I remember what I just saw or not. This is so important. I think how traditionally we used to do this is used to learn an opening and then used to play some practice games against your friend or a coach and so on. That way the coach will ensure that you have learned the opening. Without this, you're not sure at all, because when you're looking at an opening video, we feel, yeah, I got everything. My brain has the capacity of a sponge. But sponge gathers a lot of dirt as well sometimes, and it can happen in chess openings as well. It's very easy to confuse lines because usually we have a look at the opening simultaneously, all the lines. So when the knight has to go to f3 and when the pawn has to go to f4, can become a complete mud in our minds. So this is really, really helpful. Knight c3, knight f6. Now I think I remember the line. It is supposed to be f4, and he of course takes. And now that I have the option of e5, I think it was e5, the knight has to go back, and now I want to develop my pieces. So knight to f3 feels the most logical. d6. Now I don't want to capture, even logic tells me I don't want him to develop his pieces, and of course d4 seems to be the most logical move. He takes. I don't want to trade queens. Of course sometimes you cannot remember exactly what was played, but even logic can help you to remember this line. So knight takes e5. Keep in mind that we want to avoid a trade of queens. Keep preventing queen h4 check. Let's try that again actually. Now I remember actually. See, this happens to everybody. Queen e2. Now I remember. Exactly. And now I can remember the entire line. Because I went wrong, I am much more likely to remember the entire line now. Now it is bishop f4 and knight d4, knight d4, queen d4 and bishop e5, and that's the variation. See, so you go wrong, your brain is like, how did the hell do you go wrong? Oh, I want the variation now. And this is what happens. Now you can see the number of drills. For example, just for one video, there are more drills there. This is next one. This is next one. And you can see that now we have the next video. So you will have a lot of drills there. And I really like this feature. It also has a separate tab for theory. Now, I personally did not find it that useful for me because I have chess base. So if I'm really inclined to analyze variations deeply, I would probably do it on chess base. But of course, not everybody has that tool, and for them, it might be a valuable resource. Now, there's also this feature which I actually noticed after finishing 1/5 of the course, and that was complete all course drills in random order. Now, this is really, really useful as well. So it's like you complete the entire course and then you click on start. Well, you can of course choose certain chapters, but I think it's better to go for all. That would be my perception. And then you click on continue, and then you have 223 drills, and it will pick up any random variation. For example, c5 now. So I know it is a3, and then e6, and then so on. We can continue the drill, yeah? And if you're wondering if I don't remember, you're wrong. I do. I absolutely do. See? Genius right here. Now, who would I recommend this course for? Because it's not for everybody. So if you want to learn 1e4 and if you want to just use this for, well, say Blitz, for example, I think it is applicable to literally everyone. Anybody can probably use it. But if we come to over the board chess, classical chess, I think it is applicable for two kinds of people. Number one, who have a FIDE rating of less than, I would say, 1500, or in chess.com Blitz terms, rating less than 1700 Blitz on chess.com might be the appropriate audience. And also people who have never played 1e4. So I personally did play 1e4 when I was a kid. I used to play the Italian, like I played for like a few months, but that's like a distant, I have more memories of me being born than of that Italian opening. So anybody who's not played 1e4 and wants to inspire himself, because I just can't tell you how satisfied I feel with this course. Even though I'm not the target audience, because the games I had, they were so crazy. They were just insane. Of course, objectively might not be the best lines in every single occasion. So I think this is a great course. For me personally, it definitely inspired me. Now, you might not know. So basically, I played an over-the-board tournament in Europe in a round-robin event last year. That was 2021. And there was not only rampant cheating going on in that event. Well, me and my friends were threatened with jail time for basically refusing to play in a tournament where cheating was going on. That too during the peak of COVID, when every second day you would hear about some relative dying at home. So I have a separate video I'll link in the description and even at the end of this video. Since then, playing chess, I lost that feel of it because I saw the extreme dark side. And of course, FIDE had an inquiry and so on. You can probably check the video, and how useless FIDE is, you'll probably get to know through that video. But yeah, since then I had kind of lost the will to play over the board chess. If you go to my FIDE profile right now, you will see I have like a couple of games over the board. That too because I had actually gone to a city to record a video, and they had a tournament in the same city and I had a day free, so I played it, and that too I left after 2 games. So I don't know if it makes sense, but I had completely lost the will to play over the board chess. But this course somehow inspires me. Like, I found myself Googling the dates of the national championship. I was discussing on stream, how can I prepare for it? And even though it might not seem a lot to you, it definitely is a lot to me, that I feel like playing over the board chess. So thanks a lot for that, Levi. I'm sure Levi did not invent these lines, but yeah, somehow I ran into this course. And I remember as a kid, right, growing up and playing chess, this is what inspired me. I think I kind of forgot that. So if you're an adult player and you kind of feel uninspired, it might be the thing for you. For sure, that I can guarantee, it is the thing for you. With that, if you actually want to know what really happened in that over the board tournament, here's a video for you. You can definitely check it out. And meanwhile, I'm going to try and complete this course. And you might not believe it, but I'm going to play 1e4 in many of my games from now.